what's going on to all my Loki and MCU fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the first season of Loki Finale. We're talking for all time, always episode 6, season 1 finale, and we have so much to break down. Mephisto came true this time around, right? We're going to talk about that, the season 2 that we got announced earlier today, Loki appearing in Doctor Strange, and all this madness that we got in this finale. We're going to break it all down here in the spoiler review, but before we do so, make sure you all are checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed my spoiler-free discussion, review, recap, breakdown of the season 1 finale of Loki, well, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Also, share the video to all the MCU Loki fans that you know out there, and let's have a fun time breaking it all down. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about this season finale. Let's talk about this episode, the character introduction that we get in this episode, the character moments, the Loki moments that we get, but as well as let's talk about season 2 predictions. Let's talk about the next What If series. We have Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2. Let's talk about it all in the comments. Were you satisfied with the finale? Were you let down? Were you disappointed from this series as a whole? Or is this your favorite project in Phase 4 so far? Let's talk about it all in the live chat as well as on the replay. Let's have a great discussion. So before I even break down this episode, I got to start off top, and I'm going to do it at the end of this video too, but I just want to thank you all for tuning in every single week. I say this with all my recaps that I finish up on the finale, but it really does mean a lot to me as a content creator that you all take the time out of your days to click the videos, watch the videos, comment the videos, share the videos. It really does mean a lot, and just knowing there are so many great content creators out there, some that I've had the fortune enough to meet and have on our live streams. It just really means a lot to me that you guys take the time to watch these videos. So for me, to you, thank you so much. And then a quick little plug, as you all know, it's going to be a great time, but every single Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time, myself and my incredible co-hosts, Amanda and Chris, we have a live discussion breaking down the latest episode, and we always like to bring around some special guests, and we have some returning guests making their way to the live stream, and that is Tessa from Mama's Geekly, and my homie Michael from Black Gay Comic Geek. Is gonna be a great discussion. We've already kind of chatted on our DMs about the episode, but we're gonna really dive into it, talk about the spoilers, obviously, talk about our predictions, what worked, what didn't work. We're gonna have the debate about which series has been the best one so far. It's gonna be a fun discussion. You're not gonna want to miss it. So yeah, it's time. It's time to break it down. I just about an hour and a half ago got done watching the episode, got my notes here, really digested everything I just saw, and my initial reaction was that was satisfying, right? I mean, obviously it's a finale, and obviously we know there's a season 2, and it's the MCU. They love to set things up. So there is that moment where you're just like, oh, we didn't get all the answers or the questions answered that I want in this finale, but it does leave the door open in regards to not only a season 2, but best believe the What If series, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2, it will be a continuing theme in regards to from WandaVision to what we get with this series. And like I said, those others, it's like a trilogy within itself before we lead up into the next Avengers film. So from that standpoint, I was pretty satisfied, but at the same time, and I have it in my notes, there were some questions that I was hoping to get answered that we didn't get in this season finale. But as the season finale goes, I think it was a better finale than WandaVision. I think it was a better finale than Falcon and Winter Soldier. And going back into what the show is called, Loki, I think we still got a satisfied conclusion to what our Loki has become, this person of chaos to wanting control as he has a conversation with the one who remains. And then seeing Sylvie, as she's always said from the beginning, it's not about you, Loki. It's not about taking over the TVA. It's taking whoever is behind the TVA down. So I love that the through line still stay consistent with the show's premise of what makes a Loki tick, what is a Loki all about, and we still got that through line on top of setting up Phase 4 and the one who remains, aka Kang. It was a really good finale, and I can't wait to break it more down in this breakdown, but also in tomorrow's live stream. So let's get into it. The recap again, episode 6, titled For All Time Always. Wow. So it opens up, first and foremost, I had chills. This opening to me was so epic because, again, it just makes me as an MCU fan just happy that I know all the little Easter eggs and can have these moments of references when we open up the episode, hearing the music that Cap and Peggy dance to in Endgame, hearing all the various quotes from all of our favorite MCU characters, from Tony Stark, Iron Man, to, you know, T'Challa, Wakanda. I mean, there was so many moments. I'm just like, this is what it feels like to be an MCU fan. This is what, from 2008 to 2021, this is what MCU has given us, those moments that we can always just, when we hear a sound, we hear a music, we hear a cue, it just makes me happy inside. And then we have these other famous quotes from different multiverses, from even, for example, Nelson Mandela, to going to this moment, to the end of time, to the end of the void. I literally had chills opening up this episode, and the chills remain for the rest of the episode. But I thought it was a fantastic way to open up the show, as we see Sylvie and Loki at the doors of the Citadel, and she needs a moment, right? This is her whole life has led her to this moment, to meet the person that stripped away her life, that took her away from Asgard, took her as a little kid, because she's responsible for this Nexus event that we still don't know what it is quite yet. But I love that she had that moment there, but the doors slowly open up. And I mentioned chills earlier, but I'm not going to lie. I got a little nervous, got a little scared when this character makes its appearance. Miss Minutes, I don't know, let me know in the comments now if you're watching this live. Did it kind of catch you off guard? I remember going back to WandaVision when we saw the dead version of Vision. That like startled me, and also the dead version of Quicksilver. This moment had the same type of creepy vibes. When she comes out of nowhere, it's like, hey, welcome, y'all. Miss Minutes, MVP for me. But she says she welcomes them to the Citadel, and she says, welcome to the end of time. So again, that opening sequence, just like last week's opening sequence was so epic, this just got me in the feels, and I was just like, oh, this is hitting on all cylinders and within the first 5 minutes. So she mentions that he will be, you know, the one who remains has been very impressed that you have made it this far. He wants to make some modifications to the timeline. That way you can go back without the disruption, I should say, within the timeline, and you can live the life that you always wanted. So we're seeing Loki and Sylvie kind of taking all that in, and we see Loki kind of has like a little twinkle in his eye, like, well, that sounds pretty promising, as, you know, she gives the offer on the table for our Loki is, well, let's say I'll give you everything you ever wanted. I'll give you the idea of beating the Avengers, to killing Thanos, to achieving getting all the Infinity Stones, and being not only the ruler of Asgard, but the ruler of all people. You know, no problems at all. And kudos to Marvel. If you guys remember the trailer for the show, and I'm going to put the screenshot on the screen now. You remember this shot here? Well, we didn't even see this in this episode, and that's why if you watch my previous reviews or our live streams, I was always under the impression, now I had Kang in the back pocket, but I'm just like, there's no way they're going to put Kang on a TV series. Obviously, I was wrong, and we'll talk about that in this review, but my whole thing was just like, it makes sense that it would probably be a King Loki behind the scenes, and someone that maybe has accomplish all of the quest of beating Thanos, killing the Avengers, or say killing the Avengers, beating the Avengers, getting the Infinity Stones, and that version Loki has given his opportunity to our Loki to do those same things. So what a way to just really set the mood of just, again, Loki hearing all those accomplishments that could have been given to him on a silver platter. Everything he's worked for was just right there. But he's just changed man, and I love that aspect of, again, seeing our Loki, a person of chaos, coming to where he's at in the show is just fantastic writing and character development, in my personal opinion. But to now Sylvie hearing her offer on the table, having a lifetime filled with memories, and both of them having a happy timeline together was such a great moment there. But we see our Loki saying, no, we're at the point now, we want to write our own destiny, so we'll decline your offer, as Miss Minutes say. Well, good luck with that, dear. So again, Miss Minutes, I love that character. But nonetheless, let's go back to the TVA as we get a brief moment with Renslayer as she's talking to Miss Minutes in regards to the file she's looking for, and she kind of looks at the coffee stains left by our Mobius, who we'll talk about in this breakdown, obviously. But she says, oh, here you go, dear. This is the files that you're not looking for, but the files you need. So again, we'll talk about Renslayer and her quest for free will, but we get a big reveal of who Renslayer is. cutting back to that flashback or cut back to the moment of 2018. So again, this whole Renslayer thing of the whole idea of her being a bad person versus the whole idea of the show is you're never really good, you're never really bad. But I love that we get that brief moment of him, the one who remains, sending her the files that will make her go on her own quest of finding free will. So let's go back to the meat and potatoes, ladies and gentlemen. As we go back to Sylvie and Loki, they make their way to the elevator doors, and the doors open. I'm thinking, okay, we're getting King Loki. We're getting the classic Loki even. We're getting, some variant version of Loki. And you can go back and watch the clips, watch my season 1 or episode 1 review and a lot of streams that we did. I always thought that Kang was going to be the big bad or hint towards the big bad, very similar to Thanos in the first Avengers 2012. But I just didn't think that Disney would have the cojones to introduce the next big bad in a TV series. But if Black Widow has shown us anything, that the post-credit scene, I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say the post-credit scene of Black Widow has opened the doors to a potential series coming out later down the road. This is groundbreaking, ladies and gentlemen. I really want to kind of take a moment to kind of really think about what the MCU and what Marvel, Kevin Feige, and the producers have been giving us in this Phase 4. These TV shows are on par to importance as the movies, as this episode shows, because the doors open up, and it is no other than Jonathan Majors, as he doesn't go by Kang, he goes by the one who remains. Now, obviously, he refers to Kang, the Conqueror, the ruler later in the episode, but he this particular one is the only one that remains, and we'll talk about his backstory. But I was beyond in shock at that moment, because I'm just thinking in my head, this is insane, because I know I'm an MCU fan, you're an MCU fan, but we know that there are people out there that don't even know what Loki is, that doesn't even know what the Falcon and Winter Soldier is, or, what we get with, WandaVision. They're just like, oh, when is the next film coming out? I'll check that out. But now that particular individual, they're missing one of the biggest moments of Phase 4, which is introducing, which I think will be at least one of the big bads. I think Dr. Doom's going to have something to say about Phase 4, but I think, Kang the Conqueror as Antman the Wasp, which I don't know what the hell Scott and Hope and the whole crew's going to do with Kang, but nonetheless, Jonathan Majors, man, he comes out of the elevator, ladies and gentlemen, and it is him. He invites him to his office to have a drink, but again, this is groundbreaking, man. I'm a big TV fan. I never would have thought that they would have put this is almost like equivalent to a Thanos appearing in a TV show, right? If obviously things were different in 2008 or 2012, let's say, but could you imagine if Disney Plus was around and the first time you see Thanos is on television? That's pretty crazy. I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Obviously, I'm happy because I watch these shows. I watch everything MCU, so I'm already in the know. I read the news. I check different articles. But it is really crazy to think that there are people out there that will have no idea what we just witnessed. But as I digress, let's go back to the recap. Mobius back in the office talking, back to TVA, talking to Renslayer, and they have the discussion about him surviving the prune and all that. And she calls one of the hunters into the room as he says, well, I don't think they're going to be helping you out after they learned your secret, which brings us to Ohio 2018, which I think is funny. Ohio, we were just in Ohio in a particular movie that just came out last week. I don't know if there's any connections there, but nonetheless, we're in Ohio 2018. Hunter B-15 shows one of the hunters that's looking for her the truth about Renslayer, her Nexus event, as she comes into her own office. She doesn't know who the hell Renslayer is. We don't even know who her name is at this moment, but she seems to be a principal or a teacher of sorts, which goes back to that pin that we saw many episodes ago when Mobius was signing off the documents, and it shows the Roosevelt School that she was, again, I don't know if she's a principal or just a regular teacher, but she had a regular life as a principal, as a teacher. Maybe she was married to a particular variant version of Kang, but what a good moment there, and it really just kind of opens the door about, again, she's not a good guy. She's not a bad guy. You can't be too good. You can't be too bad. We get that moment with Renslayer in her past. And I can't wait to see our other characters, B-15's past, Mobius's past, but what a big moment there. And that's kind of cut in between the one who remains, showing Loki and Sylvie that he's paved the way for them to get to this very point, as he's seen it all before. He has been around the timeline a million times, and he paved the way for them to get to this very exact moment, as Renslayer is still in the belief system of the TVA, of the one who is controlling all this, as she warns, as Mobius is like, well, I'm just going to have to take you out. He doesn't win that fight. We see Renslayer gets the upper hand, takes the prune stick, and almost is going to prune him again, but she stops, walks through a portal, and she says she is on the search for free will. So I would imagine we're going to see Gugu pop up in maybe a Spider-Man film, maybe in a post-credit scene, or Doctor Strange 2, or a What If series potentially. The door has opened to Phase 4 and Renslayer. When we're going to see her next, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But let's go back to the one who remains in this discussion he has with our Sylvie and our Loki, giving Loki and Sylvie his history lesson. Now, this is very important. Again, there's so much comic book stuff that we can dive into, but I just want to focus on what the show's giving us, right? So we see in this moment, he talks about his history. He comes from the 31st century, which is a nod towards, if you guys remember that little artifact that we saw in episode 1, he goes over that in his particular timeline, he discovered that there are multiverses, right? And that there are other versions of himself, and he comes across another version of himself. And at first, everything's working out fine. It's like, oh, I like your hair, I like your nose, I like your swag. You seem to be a good guy. Everything's working out. But inevitably, power takes over. Not everyone has a good heart, as the one who remains says. So there's this multi-dimensional war that goes on, and we have the one who remains. He is able to obtain and control the powers of the Alliance, which ultimately gives him the one-up to taking out all of the other variant versions of himself. So that's the creation of the sacred timeline. That is the creation of what we have in the Alliance being his pet, because he was able to maintain it and able to control it. And that explains so much about the show. Again, Miss Minutes gave us a history lesson, but it was the one who remains history lesson. And don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. Secret Wars is coming. That will be the next big event, whether it's in this phase or phase 5. We will see multiple versions of characters fighting it out, duking it out for the one supreme multiverse. I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't wait to see what that looks like. But he tells our Loki and Sylvie that, oh, if you think I'm the big bad, you think I'm the Mephisto, the devil, wait till you meet the other versions of me, a.k.a. Kang, the actual conqueror. By the way, I got to talk about Jonathan Majors. He was killing this episode. Listen, if you've been part of my community for a while, whether it's my review on The Five Bloods, all the episode breakdowns I did for Lovecraft Country, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Jonathan Majors is a superstar, ladies and gentlemen, and he ate up the scene. The way he introduced himself in the elevator and messing with Sylvie and Loki and the conversation, the line delivery, the snarkiness, the menacing nature, the jokes. He was just eating up the scenery. He stole every scene that he was in. And Jonathan Majors, I love you, man. I can't wait to see other variant versions of this performance, because Jonathan Majors is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. So he offers Sylvie and Loki an opportunity to two options. You can either kill me and let the other evil versions of me come out, or you can take my job. You know, you two are very unique. Two Lokis having the same goal is kind of, catastrophic. I want you guys to take the job. So that is the offer that's put on the table. And again, we'll talk about the decisions from our two Lokis. But he suggested it because Sylvie is ready to kill him, which goes back to her character development. It's been said since the very first time we met her, it's not about you, Loki. It's about taking down the TVA. But our Loki, again, an agent of chaos, has now switched his tone of chaos. He wants control. He likes this dictator in position, and he likes the idea of maybe being the ones that can now dictate the TVA. But obviously, two Lokis are not on the same page there, as they can't. I love this line here. Sylvie says, I can't trust you, and Loki says he can't be trusted. What a great line for those two characters as they fight each other, which, by the way, I love that the show, very similar to WandaVision and the Falcon Winter Soldier, it wasn't like this big spectacle MCU, Black Widow, third act, having a big fight. It was a little bit of a fight there, but it was just more mental. It was more about the Lokis coming to can't be trusted, can't trust anyone, and then obviously setting up Kang the Conqueror, or the one who remains. So I love that it wasn't just big battle that we've come to expect with the MCU projects. It's a conversation. It's about the mental. It's about the setup. So I love that we didn't rely on fight choreography to tell its story. So I really appreciate that. As Sylvie holds her sword to Loki's neck, he tells her to stop. They have the moment we've been waiting for. Very weird to see two people of the same kind kiss each other, but nonetheless, they do, as Sylvie says, I'm not you, and pushes Loki through the portal, leaving her there with the one who remains. We ultimately see Sylvie kills the one who remains as he gives her a wink and says, see you soon. She sits there, and we see the branches of reality outside of the Sentinel going insane. And I think this opens the door for the What If series, which is the next series that we're getting next month. This opens the door for Spider-Man 3, which explains so much, these multiple versions of Doc Ock, of Electro, of the other villains that we're going to probably get setting up to Sinister Six. This obviously speaks to Doctor Strange, who I know is like super pissed at Wanda, at Loki, and all this stuff going on, because he's going to have to fix this timeline, which is going to be so exciting to see as they've announced that Loki will be a part of Doctor Strange 2, as well as we already know Wanda. We still have, Chiwetel Ejiofor, we still have Wong, we still have, Peter Parker making an appearance. I'm telling you all, we're not ready for what Phase 4 has us for the future of the multiverse and the Secret Wars, which will be coming sooner rather than later. We cut to B-15 and Mobius, who are not turning back now. All time, as always, as they watch the branches of reality branch off, and the branches are now creating the multiverse, and there's going to be a war. I'm telling you, I can't wait. Loki sits. This is a great moment. He's alone. Remember that. Remember what Sif told him. Lokis are bound to be alone. He's by himself, but he kind of snaps out of it. He runs to the TVA. He comes across a different Minuteman, which I'm like, why aren't they arresting him? I thought that Loki was the main target that you guys are looking for. But we learn to find out as Loki catches up with Mobius in B-15, and he's explaining everything. Like, he's behind everything. It's the one who remained. He's seen it all. We need to stop him. As Mobius is like, there's 63 different branches of reality being created. And Loki learns that isn't the Mobius you know. That isn't the B-15 you know. Matter of fact, look behind you, Loki, as he turns around and sees a statue of Kang the Conqueror, alluding to this is a different multiverse. He isn't in the same multiverse that he comes from. So now Loki is trapped in the multiverse. Sylvie is still at the Citadel. Mobius and B-15 are still trying to figure things out. Renslayer is trying to find free will. As the credits roll, it says that Loki will return in a season 2, which they already announced that a year ago, but they were kind of playing coy, like, oh no, we'll see how things end, but it's official. The first MCU show out of the 3 so far that has been greenlit for a season 2. I believe the cameras will be rolling at the beginning of next year, which, the way MCU works, we might get Loki season 2 by the end of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, what a finale. Let me go over some notes before I wrap things up here, but let's go over the through line, which is what I really appreciate about this show, and I think it never lost focus. I think some of the other shows, WandaVision, I thought had a better focus at times, and it kind of stuck to the grief and what makes Wanda Maximoff become the Scarlet Witch. Falcon and Winter Soldier had some stumbling blocks, but I think, it's obviously Sam becoming Captain America, Bucky relieving himself of his trauma, obviously John Walker becoming U.S. agent, all that stuff, but it was still kind of muffled to get to the finale. But I think Loki stuck the landing from what the premise of the show promised us. What makes a Loki tick? What makes a Loki? And I think we figured that out in the show. So I really appreciate the show's storyline and how we got to that point. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm going to get to my criticisms here. But I think at the end of the day, the show was called Loki. And I felt like we learned more about Loki. And I feel like, for me personally, and let me know how you all feel about this in the comments, I feel more connected and understanding Loki more than I do his brother Thor, who is an Avenger. And that's just my personal take. Obviously, I love Thor. My dog's name's Thor. But nonetheless, I think we've gotten a good idea of what Loki, this version of Loki, is moving forward in MCU. So let's go to my list here. Unanswered questions. What was Sylvie's Nexus event? We still don't know that quite yet. No jet skis for Mobius. Obviously, we can get that for season 2. Why wasn't Kang able to go back? Why was it at that point that he wasn't able to see past that particular moment in the episode? Why did Loki end up in that timeline when he went into the portal? Why didn't he just go back to the timeline that he was initially in? What next for Renslayer? What can we expect for Miss Minutes moving forward? And why doesn't magic and the Infinity Stones work in the TVA? Those are some of my biggest questions that I have left on the table, which obviously can be answered in future shows, but more in particularly in a season 2. Let me know if there were any other big unanswered questions that you have. Let's talk about it in the comments. And then I want to just kind of wrap up with my cons. I will say I did appreciate the Loki story, but then this is an MCU thing. It's all about preserving the story, but then they introduce so much. It was a lot to take in with the series. Time variance authority, I'm ultimately getting Kang the Conqueror being introduced and all that stuff. But then, you know, managing Loki's story at times, like I said, I appreciate what we got with Loki, but then managing the whole setup thing, sometimes, like I said, the MCU, it overshadows the story, right? When you're focusing on setting up the future of the MCU, which was one of my biggest problems with Black Widow. But let me know how you all feel about, do you feel like you got a satisfied story within Loki, or do you feel like it was kind of overshadowed by Kang, by the time variants and so authorities? Let me know your thoughts on that. And obviously, what does the season 2 look like? Well, I personally think, obviously, we're getting What If, we're getting, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home, and we're getting Doctor Strange 2. So I think whatever the ramifications of those 3 projects, whatever their conclusion is, will be a catapult what we can expect in a season 2 of Loki. Now, obviously, we're going to still follow the storylines that we got within this show, but again, whatever Multiverse of Madness ends, I think that's going to be kind of the catalyst of what we can expect in a season 2, which is we got to worry about Kang. We got to worry about the multiverse, the timeline, the multiversal war, the secret war is coming. We got to fix all that stuff. So I'm really excited for that. But as well as, listen, I don't know what the hell Hank, Scott, Hope, Cassie, you know, his boys, and whoever else is in Ant-Man, Quantumanium, I don't know what they're going to do with Kang, because Kang is no one to play with. As our person, the one who remains, says, you think I'm bad, wait till you meet my other version. So we'll see what Ant-Man and the Wasp and his daughter and Hank and Hope have up their sleeve to go against Kang, because he is no one to play with, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the end of my review here, my thoughts, my pros, my cons, all that fun stuff. I hope you all enjoyed this review. Again, I have to bring it back to, like I said up top, thank you so much for the support, the likes, the shares, the comments, all the stuff you guys do for this channel. As I'm recording this, I just hit 14,000 subscribers, which I'm going to probably do a separate stream discussing that and celebrating that occasion. But thank you all for the support. Again, just a friendly reminder, if you want to continue the conversation, come back to this very channel tomorrow, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Myself, Amanda, Chris, Tessa, and Michael will be breaking it all down. You're going to want to join that conversation because it'll be so much fun. Again, thank you all for the support. Make sure to like, share, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, that way you don't miss any more of the content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next video.